Welcome back to part 2. We will be studying today palabras agudas. Palabras agudas are those that carries the acento in the last syllable. Remember, this is a general topic of acentos. So, palabras agudas are those that carries the acento in the last syllable. There are three things that are important to remember or to identify. First, identifying the stressed syllable. This is crucial. If you are unable to do that, it is impossible to progress. So if the stressed syllable is the last one, that word is palabra aguda. Okay? Second thing that is very important to know or to understand is that you only write down the acento or tilde if those palabras agudas are ending in N, S, or a vowel. N, S, O vocal. And the third thing that is very important is to understand, and that may sound crazy to you, that we count backwards. The reason to do that is to be consistent with the rule. So everybody has to follow the same pattern, the same rule. Counting backwards helps us to say last syllable, second to last, third to last, fourth to last, depending the number of syllables that any particular word has, okay? So I will give you some examples here to help you to identify what I'm trying to say. For instance, if we say identifying the stressed syllable, I can give you the example of the word azul, right? Azul, right? And it's very important to understand that the stressed syllable is a long one. So that sul syllable that you are hearing is the long one. That's the stressed syllable. I hope that you hear the stress there. Is short. Sul, that's long. That carries the acento. Second thing, you write down the acento if the word ending in N, S, or a vowel. So I will give you an example that ends in N, the word balcón. I hope that you hear that balcón, right? That the last syllable, con, is the stressed one. And I hope that you notice that I write down the acento. Why is that? See, the ending is an N, right? So this word fulfills the rule of acentos escritos. Why I write down the acento? Because this word carries the last syllable is the stressed one and is ending in N. So I have to write down the acento in the word balcón. And I will give you a third word here to remember the idea of counting backwards. I will say borrador. This is not the way that we write down, but this will help you to identify what I mean by the syllables and counting backwards. We start counting here in this direction. That's what I mean by backwards, right? Dor is the last syllable. Ra is the second to last. Bo is the third to last, right? And if you hear that this word borrador, right, that door is the last syllable, this word is an aguda one. But I do not have to write down an acento because doesn't end in N, S, or vowel. It ends in something different, in this case in R, right? Therefore, I don't have to write down the acento, but it's a palabra aguda. Why? Because the stressed syllable is the last one. Now, I will give you other examples. Let me erase this part to give you some other examples. Let's say the word café. Café, right? If you hear that this is the stressed syllable, you are absolutely correct. This is the last syllable. This is a palabra aguda, and I write down the acento because ends in a vowel, right? So the word café, right, is an aguda one, and I have to write down the acento all the time. Let me give you another example. And I hope that you can guess if this is a palabra aguda and if I have to write down the acento or not. Papel, right? Papel. If you guess that the stressed syllable is the syllable pale, right, you are absolutely right. Therefore, this word is an aguda one, right? Now, if I ask you, do I have to write down the acento yes or not, I hope that you will say, of course not. And if you says that, you are absolutely right, because this palabra aguda is ending in something different than N, S, or a vowel, ending in L, exactly like the word azul. Therefore, do not carry acento, right? But it's a palabra aguda as the other one. Let me give you another example. The word mama, a very common one, right? Mom, right? Ma, right? I hope that you hear that the stressed syllable is the last one. And since it's ending in a vowel, I have to put the acento there. Let me give you another example. The word ven, de, door, right? It sounds similar to the word borrador that I use, right? If you guess that the last syllable is the stressed one, you are absolutely correct, right? This is a palabra aguda as well, right? Why? Because carries the acento in the last syllable. I do not have to write down the acento because it's ending in R, right? And only words that ending in N, S, or a vowel carries acento, so I don't have to write an acento here. Allow me to give you another one. The word país, right? País, right? I hope that you hear that this is the stressed syllable. And I hope that you understand why I put an acento here. This is a palabra aguda ending in S, therefore I have to write down the acento. And I will give you the last one, the word canción. And I can make a rule here. All the words ending in ción or sion, right, carries acento. Why? Because these are palabras agudas ending in N, right? So the word canción carries acento because, first of all, it's a palabra aguda, meaning that carries the acento in the last syllable. Second thing is ending in the consonant N. And if ending in N, S, or a vowel, I have to write down the acento. Do your task. Practice on your own. Identify words in a paper or in the internet, on a piece of writing in Spanish, in poetry, or whatever you have at hand, and see if those words are agudas, and try to get familiar with this fascinating topic. This is all for now. We will see each other next video to talk about the palabras graves. So long for now.